Okay, thank you. Just wait for it to come up on my screen. There we go, thank you. Punandar Kraiso, good afternoon and welcome to Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Full Council meeting on Wednesday the 30th of March 2022. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the authority. Thank you. So agenda item number 1 is apologies for absence.
There are 3, Mr Mayor. We have apologies from Councillor Julian Amos, Councillor Tanya Skinner and Councillor Harvey Jones.
Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item number 2, declarations of interest.
Chair, sorry, Councillor David Jones was having difficulties in getting in and to the council meeting, and I advised him to contact Democratic Services.
Right, okay, so hopefully he'll be able to join us at some point during the meeting.
Mr Mayor, I am online now. I've managed to overcome my problems.
Oh, very good. You're very welcome, Councillor Jones. Good to have you with us. So declarations of interest. Councillor Jago.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I need to declare an interest in item 6, the pay policy statement 2223. My daughter works for the local authority, so I'll stand out of this agenda item and will not vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lee Davis.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Same for me. My wife works for the local authority. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Michelle Jones.
Same for me as well, please. My husband works for the local authority.
Okay, thank you very much. So if there are no other declarations of interest, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, minutes of previous meetings. That's items 3A to 3L. Is there a proposer, please?
Yes, I'd like to move those minutes, please, Mr Mayor.
Okay, and do we have a seconder?
I'll second that, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Over to Karis then, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So can I ask anybody who wishes to abstain on this item, could you please show now? Thank you. Any member wishing to vote against this item, please show now. Thank you. Any member voting in favour of this item, please show now. And that's carried, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. If we could all lower our hands then, please. Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item number 4, council tax discounts for long-term unoccupied properties. And that's Chris Davis, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Some of the report then is contained from 1.1 to 1.4. So at 1.1, the council is required to make an annual determination as to the level of discounts applicable to both long-term unoccupied and furnished properties and unoccupied furnished properties within its area. At 1.2, in respect of long-term unoccupied and unfurnished properties, the council has previously resolved to apply a discount of 0%. This report proposes that this be continued effective from the 1st of April 2022. At 1.3, in respect of unoccupied and furnished properties, the council has consistently resolved that no discount be applied. 1.3, sorry, Mr Mayor, 1.4, the Housing Wales Act gives local authorities the discretionary powers to charge up to an additional 100% council tax premium on long-term unoccupied unfurnished properties and unoccupied furnished properties. I move to the recommendations in the report at 2.1 and 2.2. 2.1, the determination to continue the level of 0% discount effective from the 1st of April 2022 for all Class C long-term unoccupied properties as defined in Section 12 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992 as amended be approved, obviously see Appendix B. And at 2.2, the determination to apply no premium in the 2022-23 financial year in respect of long-term unoccupied properties and unoccupied and furnished dwellings be approved, this position to be reviewed in 2022 in relation to the financial year 2023, subject to questions or comments by members. I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Mitten?
Yes, I second that, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? No one is indicating. Are there any comments? No, there are no comments. So over to you, Karis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So can I ask any member who is wishing to abstain on this item, could you please show now? Thank you. Any member wishing to vote against the recommendations, please show now. Thank you. Any member voting in favour of the recommendations, please show now. And that's carried, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. If you can lower our hands then, please. Councillor O'Neill, is that a delayed reaction on your screen?
Apologies, Mr Mayor. Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5, anti-fraud, bribery and corruption policy and counter-fraud strategy and framework 2021-22 to 2024-25. And that's Councillor Chris Davis again, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Obviously, the summary report then is contained at 1.1 to provide Council with the draft anti-fraud, bribery and corruption policy and draft counter-fraud strategy and framework 2021-22 to 24-25 for consideration. The recommendations respect the report are contained 2.1 and 2.2. 2.1, the Council's anti-fraud, bribery and corruption policy be approved, and at 2.2 the Council's counter-fraud strategy and framework 21-22, 24-25 be approved, subject to questions or comments by members. I so move.
Thank you. Councillor Mitten.
Yes, I second that, Mr Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And I understand Councillor Clive Jones has a question.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I refer members on page 62 to 4.4, which relates to, and it states, Council has recently agreed the funding of an investigations officer. The appointment of an individual in this role will be key to fully implementing the policy and the strategy. Shortlisting has taken place and interviews are currently being arranged. Could someone please tell me when the interview is taking place, when they expect this officer, him or her, to take up their duties?
If I could answer that one, please, Mr. Mayor. The actual interviews themselves will be taking place, I believe it's on April the 14th. And then we would expect then the actual person then to be in post, I would imagine then by about late summer then, because some of the candidates may have to give a month's notice, and other candidates may have to take a little bit longer. So I would imagine that it could well be by the time we get into August, I think, and before that post can then start the role. It could be sooner though.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Any other questions, Councillor Jones? No, any other questions? No more questions. Any comments then, please? Councillor Jones.
Yes, Mr Mayor, this is a really very important strategy, which has already been to the Governance and Audit Committee. Don't have to tell members and officers that fraud and bribery is lurking round every corner, frankly. And that's why I asked the question about the investigations officer. We used to have an officer of that standing a few years ago. I welcome the appointment. The person will pay for themselves in that job, and the sooner that they're in post, frankly, for the authority, the better. And I welcome everything else that's in the strategy.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Jones. Any other comments? No more comments, so I'll hand you over to Caris then, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, can I ask all members wishing to abstain on this item, please show now. Thank you. All those voting against the recommendations, please show now. Thank you. All those voting in favour, please show now. That's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. If we can lower our hands then, please. Oops, there's always one. In this case, it was me. Sorry about that. Agenda item number 6, pay policy statement 2022 to 2023. Can I ask any member who declared an interest in this item to turn off their camera and microphone, please? Okay, and then I'll hand you over to Councillor Chris Davis again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, the summary of report is contained at 1.1 and 1.2. At 1.1, it's a requirement of the Localism Act 2011. The council produces a pay policy statement for each financial year, setting out specific information in relation to the pay of the council's workforce. The statement that has been prepared for 22-23 and attached to Appendix 1 has been developed in line with the guidance produced by the Public Services Staff Commission, Transparency of Senior Pay in the Devolved Welsh Public Sector, and to reflect the national and local developments in pay. At 1.2, failure to consider and improve a pay policy statement for the financial year 2022-2023 will place council in breach of the Localism Act 2011. The recommendations, Mr. Mayor, are contained at 2.1 of the report that the pay policy 2022-2023 be implemented from the 1st of April 2022 be approved. Subject to questions and comments, I so move.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mitten.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? No, there are no questions. So any comments, please? No comments. So hand you back to Caris for a vote.
Thank you. So can I ask all those members who are seeking to abstain on this item, please show now. Thank you. All those wishing to vote against the recommendations, please show now. Thank you. And all those voting in favour, please show now. I think I'm still short of just a couple of votes. No, that's right. Given
There were some declared interests.
Missing. Yes, so that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So if we can lower our hands, and while we're doing that, can I ask those members who declared an interest to turn their cameras back on and rejoin the meeting, please?
We still have some hands up, so if everybody could just check. I know sometimes it's a bit temperamental.
Okay, Councillor Richards, your hand is still showing. Is it a delay on the screen? There we go. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, my apologies.
No problem. As I say, there's always one, Gareth.
Yeah, I think I've been down this hole then.
It's agenda item number 7 then, gender pay gap statement 2021 to 2022. And Chris Davis again, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so the summary report then is contained at section 1.1 and 1.2. At 1.1, it's a requirement under the Equality Act 2010, the specific duties and public authorities regulations. All organisations listed at Schedule 2 to the regulations that employ over 250 employees are required to report annually on their gender pay gap. At 1.2, the data required to be published on the Council's website and the government website by the 30th of March each year. The salary data in this statement is based on the snapshot date of the 31st of March 2021. The regulations also require a report on a gender bonus pay gap. However, the Council has no bonus scheme in place. The recommendations, Mr. Mayor, are contained at section 2.1 and 2.2. So 2.1, the content of the report and the gender pay gap statement 2021 be noted. And at 2.2, the publication of the gender pay gap statement 2021 be approved. Subject to any questions or comments by members, I so move.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Minton?
Yes, happy to second that as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, please? No, there are no questions. Are there any comments then, please? No, there are no comments. So back to Karis.
Thank you. So can I ask any member wishing to abstain on this item? Can you please show now? Thank you. Any member wishing to vote against the recommendations, please show now. Thank you. Any member wishing to vote for the recommendations, please show now. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's carried.
Okay, thank you. If we can lower our hands then, please. Thank you. Agenda item number 8, Housing Support Programme, HSP Strategy. And this is Councillor Geraint Thomas, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The summary report is set out from 1.1. This report will provide the background to development and requirement of local authorities to produce a housing support programme, HSP strategy, by April the 1st, 2022. The appendix is attached. The strategy sets out the strategic priorities of Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council and its partner agencies for homelessness prevention and alleviation and housing related support services over the coming 4 years from 2022 to 2026. The strategy takes into consideration and refreshes earlier priorities that were included in the Council's former homelessness strategy and the Housing Support Grant HSG delivery plan for 2021-22, replacing the need for a separate housing strategy. The report seeks approval from members to approve and adopt the first Merthyr Tydfil Housing Support Strategy 2022-2026. If I go to the recommendations in 2.1, Mr. Mayor, that the Housing Support Programme Strategy 2022 to 2026 be approved. I so move.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tony Rogers.
I'd like to second that, please. I second the motion.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions then, please? Councillor Clive James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bear with me with this question. It's on page 147, paragraph 5.9. and it's the headed Strategic Priority 2, the right home at the right time, the right place. And underneath that, lower down, the first dot, it refers to Action 5, providing suitable accommodation towards rapid rehousing and responding to the new normal. In line with Welsh Government policy direction, we will implement our rapid rehousing transition plan. And the question I want to ask relates to this: increasing the supply of affordable housing for single people over the next 4 years, bearing in mind that 2/3 of those on the waiting list, which is approximately 2,500, are single persons. I have read most of the report, but if somebody could answer me the question, how is that going to pan out? How are we going to do that over the next 4 years when we've got 2/3 on the housing waiting list who are single persons?
Mr. Mayor and Caris, I feel I can't answer that at the moment due to PERDA. Could I hand over to one of the officers if we can't even answer that question tonight?
I think I was about to say how well everybody has done so far. I think, yes, an officer can begin to give an answer to that, but that we will need to be very careful that we don't stray into anything which could be considered political. I think a factual answer to it is fine. If somebody is able, I don't know, was that Richard showing a hand that may be able to just give us a factual description of how that's going to be dealt with over the course of that plan?
So, sorry, Caris, can I add to, because on page 195, under the heading Funding Resources, third paragraph down, I'm actually quoting from the report. It says the council is on course to deliver in excess of 100 units of affordable housing accommodation over the next 3 years, of which 104 are one-bedroom accommodation. And it goes on to say we expect to start developments towards the end of 22-23 and 23-24, which will deliver a further 100 plus units of affordable housing. So out of that 250, from reading the report, even there, it only says 104 one-bedroom accommodation.
Yeah, so if somebody can come in, Richard, if that's you going to come in and just give a factual answer to that, please.
Yeah, I can't come in there. In terms of the one beds need, obviously you're quite right there. Really, over the course of the next 4 years, through our social housing grant programme, we are on course to deliver roughly 250 units of affordable accommodation. 30 to 40% really would be around the 104 figure that you just quoted, Councillor Jones. So realistically, when we're implementing new developments, we can't really implement any more than that. We need to create sustainable communities. So we need a mixture of 1, 2 beds, 3 beds, and adapted properties as well, to cater for kind of everybody's needs really. And in terms of the rapid rehousing point that you made, first off, that's a bit of a different approach Welsh Government are trying to implement really. Instead of kind of housing our kind of people who've got in temporary accommodation in supported accommodation, they're trying to kind of bypass that and ideally offer them homes really, and provide them with like that wraparound support. Now at the moment, as you've rightly pointed out, that is going to be a bit tricky for us because, you know, we, quite frankly, we haven't got the accommodation at the moment, but, you know, we're working tirelessly with our RSLs and accessing, you know, more grant funding outside of our show programme to try and kind of, you know, provide more one-bed accommodation for this cohort really. So that in a nutshell is my answer there. So
could I just add a supplementary question to that then, to to you, Richard Knight, through you, Mr. Mayor. We will rely, by the sound of it, heavily on registered social landlords to ease the situation with the high number of those on the waiting list who require 1-bedroom accommodation.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, as a non-stock holding authority, we rely on our RSLs to build out that new stock for us. And with that in mind, given that we've been working in the past with a budget, a social housing grant budget of 1.4 million, this year that's been up to 4.4, and that will continue over the course of the next 3 years. With that in mind, we're looking outside of our traditional 2 RSLs. There's other RSLs that are showing interest in building in Merthyr to kind of maximise that grant spend and maximise our delivery. So, yeah, we understand, we're under the cost really, but yeah, we're looking good really to spend that profile over the next few years.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jones, and thank you, Richard, for the answers. Are there any other questions? No other question. Councillor Clive Jones, was that for comments? You raised your hand.
No, I think that was trying to control the electronic hand symbol, but so I think we're okay.
Right. Okay. Councillor Bill Smith has got a comment now, please.
Sorry, are we doing comments now or are we doing questions? Have you moved on to comments?
I've moved on to comments, yes. Councillor Bill Smith.
Yeah, I agree with the policy, everything in place, but what I'm asking for, we had a workshop meeting 18 months ago, something like that, to put things in place. We got new members coming in now after me. Can we have a workshop for members to update what's happening? Because this, I tell you something, we social landlord of us, Mother Homes are changing certain things. It's not going well with the residents up there. So to be fair to the new councillors coming in, they want to know what's happening. And it's not as simple as people think, because people don't like a lot of these single units. That's the bottom line to it. So probably a training day on that to take it forward, and for new members to get involved because they want to know what's happening.
Mr. Mayor, if I come in there.
Yes, Alice, yeah.
Certainly our intention is, as part of the induction period following the election, that we will be briefing all councillors on the strategic issues for the borough, and obviously this one, not a problem. We will be including that in the briefing, and as Councillor Smith suggested, we can have further more detailed discussions on this issue. No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Alice, as well for that. Did you have a further comment, Councillor Smith?
No, I put my hand down. I'm a bit older, I am.
All right, okay. So, Councillor Kevin O'Neill with a comment then, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Clearly, as a town ward councillor at the moment, this is a concern to me. It's been a concern for 5 years. We started off with considerable issues in one part of the town centre. Now it's spread throughout the town centre. COVID, clearly we had to respond to COVID. New legislation, and we had a 78% rise in those people presenting as homeless. Through no fault, and I think we've got an excellent housing solutions team that I work with closely, we didn't have the sufficient housing solutions for them. It's absolutely right that we have 100 units lined up, and we also have plans for developing a facility at Marsh House. So those steps are in place. But like everything, the timing didn't work really well for us. My comment, and it's a plea really, I'm picking up on what Councillor Smith said about those who come behind us, is that I can't find in any of the papers any particular alignment to impact on the community, the town centre community, those people who actually live in the town centre and those who conduct their business, those businesses that have thrived, those businesses that have closed, and some of the elements of community safety we have a difficulty in recording the community safety elements because the 101 non-emergency call to police service is flawed. It doesn't record all the elements. So my comment is that I think to look at this matter in the fullest way, it's not in the document as I've seen it. There needs to be some reference point to the business environment and the social environment and some strategies tied in with the housing strategies. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. Councillor Clive Jones, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I couldn't find in this report, unless I've missed it, from the Housing Solutions Department was at one stage they were looking at and suggesting individual houses in the middle of a street or a terrace to adopt them into one-bedroom flats. Obviously, I and other elected members didn't really think that that was the whole answer to it. And all I'm asking for is a plea that if we go into a new administration looking at a workshop, that is a question which is seriously looked at throughout the county borough in the 11 wards. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Are there any other comments? No one is indicating, so Caris, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So can I ask all those who wish to abstain on this item, could you please show now? Thank you. All those wishing to vote against the recommendations, please show now. Thank you. All those voting in favour, please show now. And that's carried, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. If we can lower our hands, please. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Agenda item number 9 is the information reports. Other business, agenda item number 10. In case we don't have another meeting, I'd just like to say a few things. Thank all members, from me personally, for the way you've conducted yourselves throughout these online meetings. It has been very difficult for us all, but we've all followed the rules. We've held our hands up when we should. We've spoken when we should, and that has made my job as chair of the council so much easier. So thank you all for that. I understand that some councillors aren't seeking re-election. Apologies if I've got any of this wrong, but this is the information I have at the moment. I'd just like to thank these councillors for their service to the county borough over the years. Some councillors have only served one term. Councillor Sherelle Jago, my ward colleague, Councillor Tanya Skinner. Thank you both very much for everything that you've done and the contribution that you've made to the council over the years. I understand the Councillor Julian Amos isn't seeking re-election. Julian served 2 times from 2004 to 2012 and again from 2017. So thank you, Julian. He's not here tonight, but he's always made a very valuable contribution to debate and discussion within the council. I understand that Councillor Chris Barry is standing down the next election. Chris has served from 2004 to 2022. So thank you very much, Councillor Chris Barry, for your service to the county borough throughout that time. Councillor Tony Rogers is also standing down. He served from 2004 to 2012, 2017 to 2022. He's made valuable contributions to council debates. He served on the cabinet in different roles. So again, thank you very much, Councillor Tony Rogers. And last but not least, Councillor Harvey Jones, who again isn't with us tonight, unfortunately. Harvey served from 1996 to 2008 and again from 2012 onwards. And he was leader of the council from 2002 to 2008. And he has made an excellent contribution to the council in that time, particularly in the fields of education and in many other fields as well. So again, thank you on behalf of all the council for that.
Mr Mayor, can I just jump in, and on behalf of all the councillors here, I'm sure we wish to thank you for your mayoral year and the way that you two have also conducted full council as the chair. So thank you ever so much, Malcolm, you know, because this could be our last full council. So I think it was opportune to actually do that as leader as well. So, and I share that sentiment on behalf of everybody. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. One last thing, if you will bear with me 1 second. As I'm sure many of you know, Gavin Gwynn of Treharris, who is fighting for the British lightweight fight title in York Hall, Bethnal Green in London very shortly. Hopefully he'll become the fourth Merthyr boxer to win the Lonsdale belt, following in the footsteps of Eddie Thomas, Harold Winstone and Johnny Owen. And I'm sure the entire county borough would like to wish Gavin the very best of luck.
Yeah.
Okay, and that concludes the meeting, gentlemen. So thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr Mayor.
Thank you,
Mr Mayor. Thank you.